Make love, not war. I'm lying. Make war. It's the pulverizing pacifist, Alvin York, on today's Motivated Moments in History. Alvin Colum York was born in Pall Mall, Tennessee in 1887. He was third of 11 children. As a kid in the mountains, he passed his time working in the fields and hunting. His father died in 1911, and with his older siblings now living with families of their own, Alvin became the man of the house. With this new responsibility came seemingly no accountability for his adult actions. He was an avid drinker and bar fighter. He came home late nights many times, and with bruises from his bar scraps and stories of alcohol binges and knockdown brawls. One night his friend was killed in a bar fight, and Alvin's mother told him that she doubted he would ever be the man that his father was. Right then, Alvin swore off drinking, gambling, fighting, and swearing. It was a vow he kept for life. He became an elder in his church, started teaching Sunday school, and led the choir. Eventually, he started his own church called the Church of Christ and Christian Union. He spent his time being a devout Christian and a doted son and father figure to his mother and siblings. He even found love in a woman named Gracie Williams. Everything was going good for him. That is, until the Green Weenie showed up. He was drafted into the service for World War I. He immediately filed for conscientious objector status, but since his church wasn't recognized as a pacifist denomination by the U.S., the government denied his petition. So in 1917, he rode off to join the 82nd Infantry in Camp Gordon, Georgia. There he was quickly identified as the best marksman in his company. This was a skill he honed through the years of turkey hunting in his hometown. His commander respected York and fully understood his pacifism and dedication to nonviolent servitude to Christ. So his commander spoke to Alvin many times about the righteous combatants in the Bible and sent him on a short leave where he went to the mountains near Pall Mall, Tennessee, and spent the next 2 days in prayer and fast. Upon returning from his solitude in nature, he told his commander that he has now received a heavenly blessing to go stack bodies in the holiest of nature, so he left out and went to slay some motherfucking parties! World War I is stated to be the lowest point of humanity ever, with gas, bombs, advanced machine guns, and artillery. The fights were fierce, but the war is absolutely soul-crushing, and when all that was paired with disease, lack of medical care, starvation, and hopelessness, Alvin was somehow managed to keep his spirits up, and when he was asked how he kept his sanity, he always referred to his Christian faith. It was October 8th, 1918. It was the first day of the Argonne Offensive. York's battalion was tasked with taking out German positions near Hill 223. 3 waves of men entered into what was known as no man's land and were quickly mowed down. The Germans controlled the front as well as the left and right flanks, and they did it with heavy fire. The U.S. troops who left the trench to capture these positions were killed within seconds. With many men dead, York was on the spot promoted to corporal and given 13 dudes to make their attempt at an assault. They crawled out under heavy fire and somehow made it behind the enemy line. They entered a German nest and took it over and captured its soldiers as prisoners. This assault was costly. Every NCO in York's company was now dead or severely wounded. In just those few moments, he went from being promoted to corporal to now being the highest ranking NCO in his unit. There were still active and accurate German machine gun positions, and those bastards were waxing everybody. York knew he had to do something, so alone he crawled out of cover of the newly captured position into a much less concealed place on the battlefield. He started making turkey noises. This was something he did while hunting as a kid, and like those dumbass birds, those Germans were pretty stupid too. He kept making these noises, and whenever a German would poke his head up to see what was going on, York would cap him right between the eyes. And when the Germans finally got smart of this, they started unleashing massive waves of bullets toward him. He ducked from the fire and just remained unscathed. He was running pretty low on ammo. He had about a half a clip left when he noticed a handful of Germans were charging at him with bayonets. York started blasting at him, but he shot the rear ones first so the front ones wouldn't know what's happening to the squad and retreat. This worked very well, and Alvin ended up doing the very Christian thing by enabling every last one of those turds to go meet their maker. After the squad was killed, York continued to slay at thy body by sniping at the remaining German machine gunners. He was so accurate and deadly, he screamed out in English for them to surrender, and all 132 of those remaining Germans agreed. This dude, all by himself, took out scores of German soldiers and then captured 132. That's enough freaking Germans to fill a freaking Applebee's. For these actions, York was awarded 3 French medals, 2 Italian medals, and a Distinguished Service Cross, which was upgraded to the Medal of Honor. He was one of the most decorated soldiers of World War I. Well, he got out the army after the war and returned home to Tennessee. He married a sweetheart and fathered 7 kids. York was approached by movie producers to get his story on film. He was reluctant to do so, but eventually agreed and used that money to build a school. He then left the institution and assisted in building and running a state park. When World War II started popping off, York attempted to enlist again but was denied due to being near diabetic and having arthritis. Instead, he was commissioned as a signal major and traveled around training camps and advertised for war bonds. He usually personally paid for all of his travel expenses. He was then promoted to freaking full bird of the 7th Regiment of the Tennessee State Guard. Alvin York died in Nashville in 1964, and he's buried next to his wife in Pall Mall, Tennessee. And that, kids, is your Motivated Moments in History.